Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals. And the home team down by 8. And a bunch of folks out there in the Deer District who are checking this out. Meantime, inside, 5-serve Forum. The Bucks, who are 8-1 in the postseason, losing at the half by 8. Welcome, everybody. American Express Halftime Report. Ernie Johnson, Shaquille O'Neal, Kenny the Jet Smith, and Charles Barkley. And it's a first half in which the Toronto Raptors have clearly outplayed the home team here.
Well, they played aggressive. Their bench players played well. But Ernie, what's the one thing I tell you about the Milwaukee Bucks? They're only going to go as far as Eric Bledsoe takes them. He's the third guy in that starting unit who has to play well. He has not even scored. So, two things. He has to score, but he's the one who pushes the tempo. Because they're not a great half-court team. They just get a ball to Giannis and Chris and stand around. He got to do two things. He's got to play better and score, but he's got to push the tempo. They only got 51 points, and I blame him for that.
Toronto comes out 34 points in the first quarter. They shoot better than 50%. They've just been crisp where Milwaukee was not.
Yeah, you think as well as Kawhi Leonard is playing, you think, Bud will try to mix it up. Nobody can play this guy one-on-one. He's a great player, coming off a Game 7, wonderful shot. Look, he's in a rhythm. He's averaging 30. He had a couple games where he had a slump. He's not going to have a slump. He's Kawhi Leonard. He knows what it takes to get to the next level, and he's playing well. And the other guy, Siakam, we said that he was the new 2 of the 1-2 punch. He kind of lost confidence, or we thought he lost confidence last couple games, but he seemed to get it back. Somebody must have been in his ear and said, hey, that series is over. This is a new series. We need you to go back and do what you did. He's playing aggressive. The whole team is playing aggressive. And I agree with Chuck. Bledsoe definitely has to pick it up.
We talked about the Toronto defense and allowing 96 points a game through these playoffs. Defensively, what are they doing against Milwaukee?
Well, you know what, you can prepare for Giannis until you see him. But what they have is they're trying to corral Giannis. And how do you do it? And it's a multiple ways of doing it. And what they've created is, if you freeze it here, they're playing a 3-2 zone. They're saying, we're going to play a zone, 3-2. We're going to have 2 guys come at you that are already in position to make it happen. So once you get the ball, all of a sudden everyone slides over, everyone corrals, and you have Green and you have Lowry there to make you take the outside shot. We're going to see it again. We get back in transition. And once we find and we stop the ball, everyone get back into what? Freeze it here. We're back into our zone. And I don't even care if Marc Gasol gets out of it. So once he starts again, Mark says, let me run out and get into my 3-2 position, and I have my guards low, and we rebound again, and we freeze it again. You look at Kyle Lowry. This is a 3-2, old school, first learn how to play basketball zone. And we're saying, Giannis, if you drive, freeze it again. Now you got 4 guys that are waiting on you, and these guys have to hit shots. And if they don't hit shots, you're going home, and we're going to the NBA Finals if we're the Toronto Raptors.
And if for every move like that made by Nick Nurse, what will be the Mike Budenholzer response on the Milwaukee side? If they're going to do that, how do you attack that?
Well, number one, you don't set it up in the half court. I would run more pick and rolls with Giannis. Ernie, as great as Shaq is, I was a hell of a player. You can name me any great player. When you get a ball to a guy at the top of the key and says, hey, score 1-on-5, it ain't going to work. Go ahead, Shaq.
But if I was Giannis, I'd say, guys, this is what we've been waiting for. I'm going to draw. They're going to come to me. We got 4 guys. When I kick it to you, be like Kenny Smith. Hit 7 threes.
Hit 7 threes, no question. And the other thing you have to do is you have to put Giannis on the baseline. So you attack the 1 guy on the baseline instead of taking on the 3 guys out front.
But also, you can run a pick and roll. Just giving the guy who knows how great he is, just give him the ball at the top of the key, that's stupid. Run a pick and roll and make them switch or take the ball in his hands, and that'll compromise the defense on the back end.
Antetokounmpo 13 points on 6 of 13. Kawhi Leonard's got 15. The Raptors have the lead in Game 1 by 8. Back with more here in Milwaukee right after this.
Live from the 2019 Eastern Conference Finals, you're watching the American Express Halftime Report. American Express, the official card of the NBA.
So American Express is offering card members 32% off at NBAstore.com whenever a player records a triple-double in the playoffs. Learn more at NBAstore.com/Amex32. Twitter machine up and working. Shaq's suit is fantastically horrible.
I think you look good, Jack.
I do too.
I'm not worried about him because he's watching on TV. We here live in action.
Yeah, I need that blazer in my size, though.
Unless you're a big guy, you can't get it. J.C. Penney.
That's
J.C. Penney, big and tall, baby.
Hey,
absolutely.
Hey, but you know what this means?
What?
This is the Ernie Johnson flower broom jacket.
I like it.
1989, Ernie Johnson came to my house, and ever since then, I have been blossoming like the flower. Thank you, Ernie.
You're such a sweet guy.
Love you, Ernie. Dedicate this to the great Ernie Johnson.
Third quarter's coming up, y'all.
Don't cry, Ernie.
The Eastern Conference Finals have arrived on the mean streets of Milwaukee. The Toronto Raptors and the Milwaukee Bucks playing game one a half hour from now at brand new Fiserv Forum. Better than 17,500 will be inside.
We got about 2,000 out here.
Which is about what we have out here.
Sound good, too.
In the Deer District. They are 4 wins away from the NBA Finals.
Wait, the dog is killing me.
8 wins away from the ultimate prize.
Oh my God.
This is awesome.
Ernie, they
got a dog up there.
Ernie, they got a dog in the crowd making noise.
There's not a dog, man.
It is a beautiful spring night.
It's nice and nice out here.
It is. Are you not entertained, Milwaukee? Are you not entertained?
This is great.
I'll tell you what.
Man, they cracking.
We welcome you to TNT NBA Tip-Off. It's presented by Auto Trader. That's Shaq. That's Kenny. That's Charles. I'm Ernie. This is my hometown. Shout out Wauwatosa.
Ernie giving shout-outs. Oh my
Shout out North 68th Street.
Hey, Ernie, don't be throwing up signs, man. Don't be throwing no signs up in here.
Hey, Kenny, it's the nicest crowd we ever had, right?
I think it is.
Go ahead,
Oh,
Kenny.
Ernie getting the Ernie. Oh, my goodness. I love it. I love it.
Go on,
Hey.
Kenny. Ernie, before we get started, we got to make sure this crowd is really live. Ready? Throw your hands in the air and wave them like you just don't care. Let me hear you say Milwaukee. Say Milwaukee. Say Bucks. Say Bucks. Okay.
All right.
All right. They ready.
So,
Man.
it has been a week since the Bucks played. That's when they punched their ticket to the Eastern Conference Finals. Meantime, Toronto, with the memory still very fresh in their minds of what happened Sunday, the shot.
Whatever play you draw up, I'm about to get to my spot and shoot it with confidence.
It's off to Leonard, defended by Simmons. Is this the dagger? Game! Series! Toronto has won! 15 fourth quarter points by Kawhi Leonard. 41 points and the game winner.
He hit a tough one. Man, he's an incredible player. We know it. Y'all know it. Ain't too much more you can say about it.
It was cool. It was all the fans, team, everybody around. It was crazy. It was one of the moments where it's like a real life game winner, game 7. They counted down when you back home, and everyone was celebrating like that. It was a pretty awesome moment.
An unforgettable shot, and this also an unforgettable shot from Rick Madonic of the Toronto Star.
Who is that dude in the picture with Kawhi?
He made it.
You know who it is?
He on the team.
Jordan Lloyd, who played 12 games this year, scored 29 points, went
Jordan
to
made
Furman,
the picture.
and
Look
he
at
made the picture. Look at Embiid,
one of the-
hoping it doesn't go.
That's one of the greatest photos ever right
You should
there.
be suspended, Chuck. He crossed that line.
You know what?
He wasn't on the active roster anyway.
But
Right?
that's what's
That's
great,
a
though,
great
because he
picture.
was just as excited
Ernie, give a
as
shout
he
out
played
to
every minute.
give a shout out again. What's that photographer's name?
Rick Madonic.
That's awesome, brother.
Yeah, that is tremendous. Hey, Marv Albert's going to be calling this game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals. Reggie Miller, Chris Webber with him and working the sidelines. Kristen Ledlow, who was standing by inside Fiserv Forum. Kristen.
Ernie, I sat down with Kawhi Leonard earlier today. I did ask him about that photo, asked if he would frame it. He laughed and said, there's a lot of photos, but probably. Either way, I asked him about the shot, those bounces that I think to all of us felt like they took somewhere between 30 seconds and 30 years. He said that they felt like they took the 2 seconds they actually took, but he was waiting for that second bounce to see whether it came off the rim, hard or soft, and once he saw it hit the back of the rim, he thought he had a pretty good shot at it. Kawhi and I also talked about this unique opportunity to slow down, or perhaps shut down Giannis Antetokounmpo. Here's what he had to say.
It's just not gonna take one guy, you know what I mean? It got to be a whole team concept, not showing lanes or gaps, and you know, then it doesn't just end with him. They got guys over there making shots. You know, Chris Middleton's an all-star player as well, making shots for him, playing defense on the other end. So, you know, he's leading them. He's doing a great job. Obviously, you have to try to slow him down first, but that doesn't mean you're gonna win the game.
Kawhi went on to tell me that the key to this team's success is that everybody just wants to win. Nobody's worried about personal goals, but the team's accomplishment, and that is why this Raptors team is in the Eastern Conference Finals. Ernie.
Thank you very much, Kristen. Probably can be echoed on the Milwaukee side of thing, the way you've seen the Bucks play out this season, too. Chuck, what does this series come down to in your mind?
Can Kawhi get any help? Plain and simple. I think the Milwaukee Bucks have a better supporting cast, even though I love Toronto. But those guys did not show up in Game 7 against Philly. They're going to have to play their bench, who I've been bragging on their bench for 2 years, got to give Kawhi some help. Kawhi's going to do his thing. Giannis going to do his thing also. To me, it's going to be about the supporting cast. That's why I have the Bucks taking this thing. But that's the key for Toronto. Get some help from anybody.
I want to show you a couple of numbers on here. Offensively and defensively, the route that these teams have taken to the Eastern Conference Finals, Milwaukee, it's all been about offense. They play good defense also, but they're scoring 117 and have scored at least 100 in 8 of their 9 games. Toronto, meantime, allowing 96 and have allowed under 100 in 9 of their 12 games. They're 8-1 when they hold teams under 100. So who wins the battle of wills, Kenny, offense versus defense in this series?
Well, I would say that the one thing that you would say in the Eastern Conference, that Milwaukee had the advantage to me over most teams. If they had more possessions, they had more talent, and so they would win the possession game and speeding up the tempo. I'm not sure if they have more talent to do that against Toronto. But I do think home court advantage will be the difference because the teams are so evenly matched. I'm not sure of not starting this series in the North and starting it in your hometown, the mean streets. I think that will be the difference in this series.
I like what you're saying, Kenny, but you know, Chuck knows, you give me a team that's playing well together, I'll beat talented guys anytime. Chuck makes a great point. Ever since we talked about Siakam being the number 2 guy, he hasn't showed up in Game 4, 5,
since
6.
The injury.
Since the injury. He hasn't showed up. So I like Milwaukee. I like how they play. I like their support cast. And Middleton and Bledsoe have to play well for them to get to the next round.
And let me say one thing, Ernie. That's a perfect example why I don't like analytics at time. You can make those stats show whatever you want to. Let me tell you, they ain't never going to hold this Bucks team under 100 points. You go back and look at Toronto. The 2 teams they have played, Orlando Magic, they're a young team, very inexperienced, got a bright future. And the Philadelphia 76ers, number 1, Embiid didn't play in a couple of those games. Ben Simmons is flawed because he don't know how to shoot the ball. So those numbers, they're not going to hold the Milwaukee Bucks under 100 in any game, in my opinion. So you can make those numbers say what you want to.
That was just the numbers from the playoffs so far. And again, I respect that opinion that, look, this Milwaukee team, you're really going to have to do something to hold them under 100 points.
Yes.
It has not been happening.
And you can't do it.
There's Malcolm Brogdon. You saw he came back in the last game of the previous series. And they are getting set to take the floor here at Fiserv Forum. And we are getting set to be served. They got some great grub inside Fiserv Forum with senior executive chef Kenneth Hardiman.
Well, you come say hello, brother.
Yeah.
Hey, how you
Thank
doing,
y'all.
man?
We've got.
Hey, Kenneth.
David.
How you doing, Kenneth?
We got the Milwaukee. We got the Milwaukee.
Turn that way,
by
camera.
Clemens.
Get on camera.
What's up, Kenneth?
We got the Happy Chicken by Dan. We got pretzels with cheese sauce by the Milwaukee Pretzel Company.
Wow.
Pork belly burnt ends by Iron Great Barbecue. and classic mac and cheese by Mac Shack.
Man.
All of that to be devoured by Shaquille O'Neal in the next commercial.
Thank you guys, man.
Yeah. Thank you guys very much. We appreciate the hospitality.
Yes, sir.
Hey, guys, and we know that food was good, but Ernie, we got a better treat. Tell them.
Oh, yeah. I mean, when you have royalty coming onto the set next, Oscar Robertson will join us here as you see the Milwaukee Bucks take the floor inside. A guy who was here for the only championship for the Milwaukee Bucks. There he is, the Big O, joins us next here on TNT NBA Tip-Off, presented by Auto Trader.
Inside the numbers in this matchup of the two best teams in the East. Giannis against everyone, pretty good. Giannis against Toronto in the 3 games. Look at the high field goal percentage, the rebounds, and those assists are key because the three-pointers are what crushed Boston in the last series. They're going to need to shoot the ball well again. We get a look ahead to this matchup, which should be a crazy atmosphere in just less than an hour here in Milwaukee. Kristen Ludlow joined us. So, Kristen, let me start with this because I know you sat down. We played part of it with Kawhi after that unbelievable shot. Take us inside. When you talk to him and you talk to players, you know, we remember the laugh before the season. It's been no laughing matter for anyone facing Kawhi. He has been a closer, a big-time closer in the postseason.
He has, and we talked about that shot, and it's funny because for all of us, it felt like ages that it took up there on the rim to finally fall, and I asked him how long he felt like it took, and he said the 2 seconds that it actually took, which is fair, and so Kawhi Leonard. But he did talk to me about it there, getting past Ben Simmons first. He said that there was actually an advantage because Joel Embiid came to close out. He was forced to shoot it a little bit higher. He told me that he was waiting on the second bounce as soon as he saw it hit the rim, and once it hit the back of the rim, he felt like that could be a plus. But he told me that he celebrated the win for the night, and the next day woke up and started preparing for the next series.
You know, looking at as much video as you can on Kawhi or Giannis, I'm not sure it's going to make it any easier, but there is a relationship here with Coach Bud, and certainly in spending that time in San Antonio. What did Kawhi have to say about that? And I know there's probably fondness on both sides. Is it going to make a difference in any sort of way in terms of preparation?
Well, from Coach Bud's side, it's absolutely not going to. He laughed and said that it's been a long time since San Antonio. He said that Kawhi has grown and evolved far too much for him to feel like he has some sort of advantage when it comes to preparing for him. But as far as Kawhi, I asked him what he remembered of Coach Bud in San Antonio. And again, he said it was a long time ago, but I remember him and Coach Pop talking every single day. I remember how competitive he is. And he told me that I'm probably a better player just because he was there, but his competitive nature is what stands out to Kawhi when he thinks back on that relationship in San Antonio.
Kristen, obviously in the last round against Philadelphia, it was all Kawhi Leonard, a lot of hero basketball. Milwaukee is a better team, a deeper team than Philadelphia. The other players, you know, Siakam averaged 24 points in the regular season against Milwaukee, 65% from the floor. What are you hearing about the other players, the complimentary guys, Kyle Lowry, Siakam, Ibaka, having to step up their play against this very talented Milwaukee Bucks team?
Grant, you just took the words right out of Coach Nick Nurse's mouth. We sat down with him just minutes ago, and he said that in order for us to be successful in this series, somebody besides Kawhi Leonard has to step up. He emphasized Fred VanVleet. He emphasized Danny Green getting involved, Pascal Siakam as well. And he said we have to shoot better. In the last game, they had 22 uncontested shots and only hit 8 of them. And he's not pleased with his offense, and he says in order to be successful in this series, we've got to get more production, especially within that second unit, because he told us his rotation is getting shorter and shorter every series because he's playing the guys that he can trust. He's playing the guys that he can lean on, and he's got to learn to trust some more of these guys, which means they've got to produce offensively.
Lelo, when we talk about Lowry and we talk about Bledsoe in the guard matchup, how do you see that playing out, and can you speak a little bit about Lowry's growing confidence throughout the playoffs, after he had that tough game in Philadelphia where he took it upon himself and said, I got to step up, I got to do more, I got to be better?
It's interesting because in this matchup now we have a couple of guys who play regularly with a chip on their shoulder. So I'm looking forward to seeing this matchup. Before we get into it, though, I do want to say as far as Kyle Lowry goes, he did come in with his hand wrapped up. But the Raptors staff has told me that there's going to be no limitation as far as his minutes are concerned. Coach Nurse said that he's feeling fine, just a little bit sore. His hand was not dislocated. It was popped out, popped back into place, and he's just feeling a little bit sore. So as long as everything stays as is, there's not going to be any limitation on him tonight. But as far as that matchup goes, I'm excited because these are a couple of guys who play like they've still got something to prove, especially in the postseason. And both coaching staffs have mentioned that it's going to be a matchup to watch.
Inside stuff. Oh, excuse me. I had to sneeze.
There's a chant of inside stuff.
I'm sorry, I had to sneeze. I'm sorry.
Which is a good way to close this out because I know Malcolm Brogdon wants to be part of the bench mob. The bench mob, a little bit bigger than the Lakers protest, Kristen, and the amount of people in here chanting inside stuff. One.
Did he sneeze?
Inside stuff.
Yeah, no, he's...
Excuse me.
It's fine.
Yeah.
The thing is, every time I see Grant, it's like my mind goes back to inside stuff. So he's over there sneezing and talking about God knows what. I just got distracted by a Jonas Brothers advertisement in the second level here in the arena. So something about you, Grant, brings out the best or worst in me.
The feeling's mutual.
All right, that wasn't awkward at all. Where are those sexy Boston accents? Anyone got any of those? It's been a lot of years there. It's number 2. Long Island was number 50. Who voted, people? Chris Middleton voted an all-star, deserved it, been great in the postseason. He'll need to be in this series.